I've been making and publishing content online for 8 years now. I started in 2016 when I first went and bought a camera, kind of out of desperation. I had a bit of a existential crisis in my early 20s, and I went and decided to buy a camera with some of the savings I built up working as a personal trainer and started photography. And that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of starting to post my photography online. I grew up always kind of being a creative kid, but back then, and I'm not that old, I'm 27, I'll turn 28 soon. I finished school in 2015. I'm not that old, but even in that small amount of time, the last 10 years, between 2014 or 2013, 2012, when I was in high school, to now, the difference in how you are perceived if you're a creative person is completely different. I can't imagine what it's like now to go to high school and show any kind of creative talent, because you'll be immediately encouraged to go and start social media or go and start sharing that content, because the ability to make money online is so powerful these days. I can't imagine what it's like for kids who have a creative talent. They'll be pushed in that direction, and the possibility will feel so much better than it felt when I was in school. When I was in school, the idea of being creative was cool. It was like a party trick. I could draw well or I could paint well, but what the fuck are you gonna do with it? How are you gonna make money? I remember my art teacher told me I could be an architect. I remember someone told me I should get into doing design. I remember my dad even told me I should get into drawing car manufacturers' engines. So they have engine sketch artists or whatever the fuck. I don't even remember what this was about, but I remember being 10 years old and being really good at drawing. And my dad was like, maybe you could go and work for a car manufacturer. Back then, the idea of having any sort of creative talent and then turning that into a career was a complete impossibility. And so I continued through life kind of understanding that I had that skill, but really pushing it to the wayside and ignoring it in my mind because I didn't think it was something that could translate into a career. And so eventually in my early 20s, around 20, 21 years old, I had an existential crisis. I found myself in a career I didn't really enjoy. I found myself not being creative at all. And that kind of left me feeling the need to do something. And so in 2016, 8 years ago, I decided to buy a camera and started to share my photography online. And that was my first time beginning to create content. And it's crazy to think about now, because that one decision or that one moment to just begin sharing anything has turned into the greatest decision of my entire life. The single greatest decision of my entire life. It's turned into everything. It's almost like that one decision has manifested every single thing I have in this room. Everything I have in this house, everything I have in my life was the result of that one single decision. Back then, I started that Instagram account that I began sharing photography on because I was too scared of the people I went to high school with seeing me trying to build a following online. And it wasn't for me talking to camera. It wasn't me sharing anything about me. It was just me sharing photography. I didn't put anything in my captions because I was too embarrassed to talk. I was too embarrassed to share my thoughts. I was too embarrassed to come off like I was try hard, like I was actually putting effort into something. So I created a new account and started sharing my photography as a way to hide what I was doing. And so to go from that place where I lack the confidence to do this the way that I do this today, and then to slowly over the last 8 years develop this into what it is today, which is unrecognizable from what it was back then. It blows my mind every single day when I work with some of my students. And I genuinely believe this. I'm not just blowing smoke. I genuinely believe some of my students that I work with are far more talented, far better than I was where they are now compared to where I am now. And so if they just go down the path, if they continue doing the things that they're doing at the rate that I did it over the last 8 years, they will far eclipse everything I've achieved because they are way more talented than I am. A lot of you watching this right now are probably way more talented than I was back then, way more confident in front of camera, have way more skill, have way more to share than I had back then. And so understanding that fact or understanding that story of beginning to create content online in 2016 as a photographer, too embarrassed to share his thoughts, to now having this personal brand that has completely transformed my life and business, I hope that instills in some of you the guts or the confidence to go and do this, because content creation or just sharing my thoughts online has completely changed my life. It's the whole reason I have everything I have. And so you should do this. If you have any desire to do this, if there's any part of you that wants to try and do this, I really want to encourage you or let you know that I had none of the signs that this was going to be successful. There was no one in my life that was like, you should speak to camera, you should start doing this, you should start sharing your thoughts online. There was never a single person in my life that ever said that to me. There was nothing that ever signaled that this was going to be possible. And yet here I am 8 years later doing this as my full-time job. Beyond my full-time job, it affords me shit that I wouldn't have dreamt about in my wildest dreams. And that's because I made that decision and then continued doing it for long enough that it's now turned into what it is today. So if you are starting out and you want to start building your personal brand, if you want to, building personal brand, it's kind of become this technical term that has eclipsed what it actually means. What it actually means to build a personal brand is just to start sharing content online, build your reputation, be relatable, share something with the world. And I think if you have that inkling, if you have any desire to start sharing something with the world, start sharing your creativity, your knowledge, your inspiration, your passion, whatever it is, your passion, your story, whatever it is that you want to share, if you have any inkling of doing it, please start doing it. Because it can change everything for you. For you, this moment could be the same moment I went through in 2016, watching creators like Peter McKinnon, watching these people that I admired, seeing that it was possible for them, and then 8 years later turning it into what I'm doing right now. I hope I can be that moment for some of you, because there will be people in this audience, there will be people watching this right now who go on to do incredible things 8 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. But understand that it will take time. It's not going to be this thing that happens in a year. It's not going to be this thing that happens in 2 or 3 or 4. It'll be the kind of thing that you start today, you battle through for the next 5 years, 6 years, and then on year 7, it starts to work. I love this old line. It's kind of more so in line with being an artist, but I think being an artist and being a creator or being a personal brand or sharing anything online has become synonymous with one another. But there was this old saying that if you choose to be an artist, you lock yourself into being broke for 6 years and then enjoying your life for the rest of it. And I think that's probably as close to reality as I can possibly explain it. It's like no matter how many skills you have, no matter how well you set yourself up, no matter what you do, there is always going to be that inevitable roller coaster of the first 5 to 6 years of doing this. And then you eventually get on the other side of that with the knowledge that you've built, the skills you've built, the experience you've built, the confidence you've built. All of those things come together and create the thing that other people will begin to admire. Here would be my advice to give you guys the best possible chance to set yourselves up with a powerful personal brand or building your own personal brand. Here is the quote unquote secret to building a wildly profitable personal brand, at least from my experience. The first thing I need you to understand is that a personal brand is just your chosen marketing vehicle. The idea of building a wildly profitable personal brand is not this process of just making content and then just riding off into the sunset while cash shows up in your bank account. That's not how this works. If I ever had a friend of mine come to me and they wanted to be an entertainment creator and just make things for the internet and hope that AdSense and sponsorships pay their bills, I would push them away from it as hard as I possibly can, because I don't think that's a viable opportunity unless you are deeply passionate about the subject and don't care about the money at all. I have a lot of friends of mine who are making content around, I race Ironman triathlons. I have a bunch of friends who make vlogs about that process. And yeah, that's a difficult thing to monetize, but I'm not going to encourage them not to do it, because the process of doing that is purely for the enjoyment and the process of documenting that so they can watch it later. And if they achieve nothing, at least they will have that. But if you do want to build a wildly profitable personal brand, you need to understand that all the same business principles apply. You are still going to need to build a product. You're still going to need to build a business. You're still going to need to do all of the things that you would need to do if you wanted to start a business. But your personal brand is just your chosen marketing vehicle. That's the way I want you to think about this. Because if you didn't build your personal brand, what you would have to do is spend money on ads, is spend money on other creators, use other vehicles to market your business. But the beautiful thing about having a personal brand is it allows you to market your own business for free using your own story. And that's an incredibly powerful way to get people interested in your business. And so if you do want to build a wildly profitable personal brand, understand that that will be building a wildly profitable business that is marketed off your personal brand, not the other way around. And look, if you listen to that and you're like, you know what, Tom, I get it, I believe you, but I want to make content and just live off AdSense and sponsorships, be my guest, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think there's much better ways to do this and build much greater levels of success. If you build a business, selling a product you're passionate about, offering a service that is genuinely valuable, and then you build a personal brand that markets that product or service. That is, in my opinion, the best way to build a wildly profitable personal brand. The niche thing is, it's not bad advice. It's just lazy advice. It's not necessarily wrong. It just doesn't cover the entire picture. It's lazy advice. Instead, I want you to think about the avatar that you're targeting. Who is the person that you're trying to help with all of your content? Because the main difference between targeting an avatar and targeting a niche is that a niche is just a thing. And as long as you tie your personal brand to a thing, your personal brand can only live as long as that thing is relevant. Whereas if you tie your personal brand to an avatar, you can do everything that encompasses that person's interests, that person's desires, that person's story, that person's history, whatever it is. You can do everything to connect with that human being. And that means you can shift and evolve and grow over time. But if you tie your personal brand to a thing, a niche, filmmaking, business, real estate, whatever the fuck it is, your brand cannot transcend that thing. You're targeting an avatar. You're not targeting a thing. So understanding who that person is, how old are they? What do they do? What are they passionate about? What are their deepest fears? What do they spend their spare time doing? What are their biggest goals? What are the things they want to achieve in their life? And then understanding all of those elements, build a character that you are trying to help or relate to or inspire with every piece of content that you make. The easiest way to do this, or the easiest way that I've found to do this, is just to target yourself or a former version of yourself. Whenever you're making content, I want you to try and imagine, is this a piece of content that my former self would like? And if you can answer that question, if you can say yes to that, then it belongs on your feed. I think a lot of people are so confined with what they think they can and cannot make without realizing that if they just stretched a little outside of that, it would make their brand so much more magnetic, which brings me to the second point, which is be unique. And when I say be unique, I know that's shitty advice. It doesn't really answer anything. It doesn't solve any problems for you. But when I say be unique, I mean be you. Everything that makes you you is the things that will make your brand unique. And when your brand is unique, it's magnetic. If you think about the biggest personal brands in the space, if you think about the people that you're most drawn to, the characters that we all admire the most, it's never because of what they do. It's never because of what they've done. And it's never because of the things that they make their content around. It's not because of their fucking 10 tips on how to achieve X outcome. It's because of who that person is. We are drawn to these people because of them, their story, their personality, the way they talk, the way they act, the way they inspire us, the way they make us feel. That's what makes us drawn to them. And that might seem like an intangible thing to do, but it's incredibly easy. All it means is that they're being themselves. In their content, they're letting their personality fly. And in the process of letting their personality fly, you are becoming drawn to them as a human being. And the reason being is because you actually see them as a human being. See, the issue with so many creators that I watch online is that they're all doing the same shit. They're all regurgitating the same fucking information, doing the same fucking videos on the same fucking topics, and then wondering why no one gives a fuck about them. The reason being is that you're not unique. No one sees you as a real living, breathing human being because you haven't shown us that you are. And so understanding that me having these 2 bikes in the background does more for this fucking video than the things that I'm saying. Understanding that on a deep level of what a personal brand actually is, being personal, should help you build a brand that is magnetic. So understand that being you and letting your personality fly and saying fuck you to needing to be confined within a niche could be the thing that completely transforms your business. It did for me. I did the first 5 years of making content online, restricting myself to a niche, and I achieved fuck all. And then in 2 years, I said fuck it to all of it. I let my personality fly. I started cussing in my videos. I started talking about all the things I'm passionate about. And suddenly my personal brand grew bigger and better, and I make more money than I ever thought I'd be capable of. I think there's this misconception, especially as building a personal brand has become this really sexy thing to do. It's become this thing that people kind of see as a, I don't know how to fucking describe this, but building a personal brand has kind of become this thing that people think they can just choose to do and then it's done. And I think that's created an environment where people have these false expectations around, if I just fucking show up and I regurgitate some bullshit that ChatGPT wrote, then I should achieve success. And what I think these people don't understand is that what you are trying to do is make content on the internet and build an audience of thousands of living, breathing human beings so that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on ads to run your business. And if you think that's gonna happen by just showing up whenever you fucking feel like it, regurgitating some bullshit that ChatGPT or your content writer wrote, are you fucking stupid? Like, are you serious? What the fuck are we doing here? Do you think this is gonna be this thing that you just get to do and then take action and it doesn't matter what you do, you're just gonna become successful regardless? This career is fucking hard. And if you have this expectation that you're owed anything just from showing up the way that you feel like showing up, I've got news for you, my friend, it's not going to happen. Even this video right now, it's 7:30 in the morning. I have a podcast interview at 9 till 10:30. I have a meeting at 11 and I know I needed to post a video today. And so there are a bunch of other shit that I wish I could be doing at 7:30 in the morning. I love training in the mornings. I love training on Friday morning, so I don't have to train in the afternoons on Friday, but I know I need to do this. And this is a priority for me. And so I'm filming this video right now because I know it needs to happen. And so by having this expectation that what you're trying to achieve is not easy and nothing is owed to you, should give you a sobered perspective on how difficult this is going to be to achieve. But in the very same vein, that should give you confidence because most people are fucking lazy. Most people don't do the work that's required. And so by just doing the work that is required, you'll achieve more than most people. And if you can just be the person that goes, no, I'm not owed anything. I have to do the work and this will be difficult. And if I do the difficult work, I can achieve something. But even then, nothing is owed. If you can have that sober perspective, you'll achieve so much more than everyone else. I hope this video helps and I'll see you in the next one.